It's game week, baby. Week 1, Texans going on the road to face AFC South rival, the Indianapolis Colts. The Texans early favorites with favored at 2.5 points, over under at 49. I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about this matchup going into week 1. The biggest storylines around the Texans, the biggest storylines around the Colts. But all I know is this: you don't want to jinx it. Like today's video if you want the Texans to come out this week 1-0, get that dub up in Indy. Drop a like on this video, hit the thumbs up icon. You don't want to be the guy in a couple weeks who's like, damn, Texans lost that week 1 matchup and all I had to do was like the video, right? Go down and like the video, don't jinx it, and let's get a dub for this Texans team in week 1. First up, let's look at the Texans' biggest storylines going into this game. And the first one, it has to be the additions on the offense, the new weapons, the new toys for C.J. Stroud. We have Joe Mixon. We have Stefon Diggs. And I really wonder what this offense is going to look like, if it's going to be the next evolution of the Bobby Slowik offense with these two guys joining the forces that the Texans already had. Let's first look at Stefon Diggs. His numbers over the past 4 years, incredible. Now, I know 2023 was a little bit of a down year, but if you're telling me a down year is 107 receptions, over 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, yeah, I'll take a down year Stefon Diggs any day of the week. So that adds to the wide receiver room that already had Nico and Tank Dell. But what about the running back room? Something that the Texans desperately needed last year. They went ahead and addressed that to begin free agency by trading for Joe Mixon, the former Bengals running back, and he's looked good throughout his time in the NFL. A true bell cow back for the Bengals, now joining the Houston Texans. And everybody's saying, will this Texans offense be top 5? Will they be a top 5 offense in the NFL? We know Stroud loves to spread the ball around. He said it earlier in the offseason. You know, this team has 5 wide receiver ones. Whoever's open, I'm getting them the ball. Well, I'm really interested to see how that goes into play week 1. Who goes off? Will we see more targets for a guy like Stefon Diggs to get him acclimated into the offense? Will we see, the return of Tank Dell, first game back from injury, first regular season game back from injury? How will he fare up against the Colts secondary? But I want to know from you. Go down and predict it right now. If you had to put some money on it, who is going to score the first touchdown for the Houston Texans this year? In the regular season, who do you think it is? I have a gut feeling it's going to be Joe Mixon. I feel like we're going to get a Joe Mixon touchdown, maybe a red zone, a little screen pass to Mixon, maybe a throwing touchdown to Mixon for that first score. But what say you? If you had to predict it, go down in the comment section. Who do you think is going to get that first touchdown for the Texans this season? Storyline number 2. You got to protect C.J. Stroud. You got to protect your franchise, your guy, your QB1, the future of this Texans team. And that all starts up front with the big boys. The Texans offensive line, last year it was a mismatched offensive line throughout the entire season. Texans hoping to not have that going into this year. They have Jeremy Tunsil, Titus Howard as your bookend tackles. Shaq Mason, the right guard, has been playing really well. But young guys, Juice Scruggs, Kenyon Green, a lot to prove on the interior. And with this offensive line, besides Jeremy Tunsil, Shaq Mason, the other 3 guys are a little bit unproven, in my opinion. You have Titus Howard, who just got paid last offseason, who's been injured ever since he did get that new contract. Then you have Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs, 2 young guys on the interior. I know Kenyon Green, a former first-round pick, Juice Scruggs, a second-round pick. Both early draft picks by the Houston Texans. Will they produce this season? Will they look good up against competition, up against the Colts defensive line? I'm really looking at that week 1 matchup. And already, DeMeco Ryans has already kind of called out the offensive line, saying, they need to open up those running lanes. So will we see this offensive line produce in week 1, and how will they fare up against this Colts defense? Number 3, stopping the run. The Texans defense didn't do that great of a job last year in stopping the run, and going up against the Colts, y'all remember that Week 18 matchup last year up against the Colts? Yeah. Jonathan Taylor does, because he had 188 yards on the ground up against this Texans defense. Now, granted, Texans have a brand new defense, a brand new looking front 7. So, Will that be more effective up against the run this season? Azeez Al-Shire brought in. He's actually now a captain for this team at middle linebacker. How will he fare? Will he be able to hold down the middle of this defense and maybe help in the run game a little bit? And they also brought in a couple new defensive tackles into the fold. Now, DeMeco Autry, he's suspended for the start of the regular season, but Mario Edwards Jr. has been filling in nicely as the starting defensive tackle. And not gonna get a lot of, notoriety, but Foley Fatukasi was brought in for his run defense. He's not a pass rusher. He's not gonna light up the stat sheet with a ton of sacks, but he was brought in for one job and one job only, and that is to eat up blocks on the interior and help with this Texans run defense in between the tackles. Will he be able to do that up against the Colts? They have a really good offensive line. Obviously, they have a really good running back in Jonathan Taylor. I'm looking at this Texans run defense going into this week, along with their secondary, because the front seven's not the only thing that changed. The secondary, the back end, has a couple changes as well with some young guys. Time to shine for number 4. If you missed it, Kamari Lassiter changed his number. No longer number 14. He is number 4. The second-round pick out of Georgia is going to be starting on the outside for the Houston Texans this year. A lot to prove. A lot to prove for this young kid. He is getting a lot of run with this Texans team. And, Derek Stingley Jr., obviously, he's going to be the headliner for this Texans secondary. But can a guy like Kamari Lassiter or even a guy like Kalen Bullock really prove themselves? Because Jalen Petrie, Jimmy Ward, they're playing more in the slot, playing more in that nickel corner position. Remember, the Texans, they released Desmond King. So looks like Jalen Petrie is going to kind of take over that nickel position. That leaves this guy, the rookie out of USC, Kalen Bullock, on the back end. How will this Texans secondary fare this year, along with their run defense? Really going to be interested to see how that looks going into week 1. And then the health of some of the key guys for this team. First off, Will Anderson Jr., will he be ready to go week 1? The Texans did not place him on short-term IR, meaning that he would miss the first 4 games of this year. So is he going to be good to go week 1? Has been on and off practicing, getting some work on the sideline. He has that ankle injury. So I don't know if he's going to be on limited reps or if he's going to be fully good to go week 1, but really going to be interesting to see the Texans injury report right before that week 1 matchup. And then Titus Howard not on the injury report, but I mentioned before, signed that contract last year, only played in 7 games during the regular season last year for the Houston Texans. Will he be good to go? Will he be healthy in week 1? And can he stay healthy for this Texans team? Big question marks around the Texans right tackle. I have some more storylines and more preview for you in just a moment, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors over at Game Time. Texans football is here. Make sure you never miss an opportunity to watch this team in person with our sponsor, Game Time. You can expect last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute sports, concerts, comedy shows, and theater. All-in pricing. You can toggle the price to make sure it shows you the all-in price, so you don't get, bamboozled with last-minute fees or last-minute expenses on the app. They will hook you up. Make sure you're all good. You can see your seat view, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee means Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you can find a ticket in the same row, same section of an event for cheaper. They will go ahead and refund you that. And I'm looking on the Texans Colts game right now on the Game Time app. I'm taking a look right now. Super deal. They have a super deal, $281 for a ticket. Section 117, row 13. You're in the lower bowl. It's the top 1% of value. They have some amazing deals as well. You can get in for around $68. $68 a ticket right here. 10% off value. That's an amazing deal if you're trying to get in the game. If you're up in Indy, if you're in the area and you want to go check out the game, use the Game Time app today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And you use the Game Time app, like I said. I'm looking at it right now. Some great deals, some super deals on tap. You can actually see in person how good Anthony Richardson is for yourself, because that might be the biggest question mark, the biggest storyline in this entire game, because Anthony Richardson, rookie last year, top 10 pick for the Colts, didn't play that much, was injured in that Texans game last season. Will he be, how will he look? There's been mixed reports. There was Bengals, Colts joint practice earlier this offseason, and the reports came out that Bengals players were clowning Richardson. They were saying that he sucked. And then didn't look too bad in the preseason game. So I'm really interested. I think Shane Steichen's a good offensive-minded coach, and I wonder how they're going to use Richardson or how they're going to deploy him this season, because I think he's going to be pretty decent. I actually think he'll be better than Trevor Lawrence. Hot take. Hot take meter right here. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be better than Trevor Lawrence this season. Do you agree with me? Or do you think I'm full of BS? Let me know down in the comment section. Who do you think has the better season this year? Type TL for Trevor Lawrence, AR for Anthony Richardson. I just think he's a dual threat quarterback. He has a lot of weapons. This offense can do a lot with Anthony Richardson at the helm. I think he might have a better year than Trevor Lawrence, in my personal opinion. Jonathan Taylor. Is he a top 5 back? We talked about last year. The last time we saw Jonathan Taylor, he had 188 yards on the ground. But, I mean, it was a little bit of a down year. The past 2 seasons, he's been injured. 11 games played in 2022, 10 games played in 2023. The average, though, worst average that he's had is 4.4 yards per carry. And if that's your worst average in the NFL over 4 seasons, you might be a pretty decent running back in the NFL. I still think Jonathan Taylor, when healthy, is a top 5 back in this league, along with a Colts offensive line. That is one of the best in the league as well. So that's why I said this running game with the Colts, I'm really interested to see how the Texans defense fares. This new Texans defensive line, some new linebackers in the fold. How are they going to look going up against this Colts offense in week 1? Now switching to their defense. The interior D-line production for them is really good. They did lose Samson Ebukam to the season before this year even started in training camp. He's done for the season. They have Kwity Paye. They have Latu, the first-round draft pick this year, but really the big name on their defensive line, DeForest Buckner, an interior pass rusher. In my opinion, one of the best in the league on the interior. He's 3 technique, really good at rushing the passer from that interior. And I said it earlier in the program, the biggest question mark on the Texans offensive line is on the interior with that center and left guard with Juice Scruggs and Kenyon Green. So I think it'll be a good test for those young guys to see how well they're going to fare in the NFL going up against one of the better interior pass rushers in this league. I want to see how Kenyon Green fares. I want to see how Juice Scruggs fares, because we know Laramie Tunsil is really good. We know Titus Howard, when healthy, is really good, and Shaq Mason can hold it down. But can those 2 young guys in the middle actually be viable options for this team moving forward? We'll see in week 1. Let's look at the Colts secondary also. Did they upgrade? Did they? Because I'm not 100% sure that they did. I think this might be the biggest question mark around this Colts team is their secondary. Juju Brents, questionable. He's currently on the Colts injury report at the time of filming this. So he's your number 1 outside corner. Will he be good to go in week 1? Because this Texans wide receiver room is hungry. Their best corner, their best player in the secondary, actually plays in the slot. Their nickel corner, Kenny Moore II, he's their best guy in the secondary, in my opinion. Julian Blackmon, a decent option at strong safety back there. Plays okay, had 4 picks last year. Nick Cross, much better in the run game than he is in the coverage game for the Colts. So their secondaries are so-so. And then Jalen Jones he's okay. Second-year guy out of Texas A&M. I think the Texans wide receiver room should feast. I think this Texans wide receiver room should absolutely have a field day up against this Colts secondary. I don't think they're that good on the back end, so I really want to see CJ Stroud air it out, and I want to see some big numbers out of this Texans offense in week 1. And lastly, you might have seen this on social media. The Colts, they haven't won a season opener in a decade. Yes, 10 years. 10 years the Colts have not won a season opening game. I believe producer Seeps was telling me before the start of the show, 0-9-1. 0-9-1 the last 10 years. Can we keep the streak going? Can we keep it going? I want to be 0-10-1. I don't want them to have another win for the next decade for a season opener. So let's keep the ride going. Let's keep it going, Texans fans. Make sure you like the video if you want the Texans to win this week 1 matchup. And you made it all the way to the end of the video. why don't you go down and hit that sub button? We're bringing you daily Texans content, more live shows to come, more fun. It's going to be an amazing season, and I don't want you to miss out on a single second of it. So if you haven't already, go down and hit that sub button. If you are one of my loyal subscribers, one, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining this channel each and every single day. But if you are, I want to show you some love in the comment section. If you made it to the end of the video and you're subbed, drop some H's down below, because H-Town, hold it down.